Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to another Word of Gord. Average Folks in the Afterlife, number 52. And we'll finish up with our examination of Kartika Go's Multidimensional Traveler volume. And what an intriguing little book it is. It's not even that little, really. It's quite sizable. And I would have you know that I've only read sections of it. There's lots more in here, lots more of interest for you starting out consciousness projectors, and even for you experienced consciousness projectors. In this section, she's taking some travels into the future, or what she decides is the future. Some of you may recall Robert Monroe did that, I think, in his third book, Ultimate Journey, finding an Earth 1,000 years from now, verdant, beautiful, and much at peace, which tantalized us all, especially the doom and gloomers. Personally, I think that will come much sooner than 1,000 years. But, that's just my opinion. So, Kartika and going to the future. I could not tell how far into the future I had traveled, for determining time is a particularly tricky task when it comes to the energetic world. You cannot simply ask the universe to pull your energetic body to a specific time. I see. I found myself surrounded by beautiful cascading mountains in every direction. Deep within the lush greenery of the sloping hills, I could make out a futuristic-looking yet humble wooden house shaped like a parallelogram. I walked inquisitively through the house's front door and found myself unintentionally interrupting a family dinner. At the round table sat a teenage girl, her jet black hair thrown neatly over her shoulders, along with her parents. They were all dressed similarly in loose pants and unbuttoned shirts that appeared to be made out of hemp. I'm not sure I could tell if clothes are made of hemp just by looking at them. As they gazed at me in conscious curiosity, their mouths open in surprise, I soon realized that I, too, had been standing there with the same expression on my face. Quickly composing myself, I asked softly, "You can see me? Is this Earth?" The family nodded in unison, with their mouths still hanging open. "How are you able to see me? I thought that all of you were in your physical bodies. My name is Kartika. I come from the Earth, year 2009. Upon hearing my words, the girl shifted slightly in her wooden chair and turned to face me. "We are in our physical. Since you come from the year 2009, a long time back, you must not know that by now we have elevated our spiritual understanding and are able to interact with those in the energetic world. Forgive us, I mean we," the girl paused briefly to nod at both her parents. "We have just never seen anyone from the past before. As a spiritual energetic projection, anyway." The mother stood up suddenly and quickly moved toward the back of the dining room to find another wooden chair for me to sit on. As she kindly gestured for me to take a seat at the table, I could not help but chuckle to myself at the irony of being offered a physical chair while in my energetic body. I placed my hand over my mouth and pretended to cough in an attempt to mask my laughter, but was soon distracted by a poem framed on the wall on the family's abode. It read, "Goodbye, my love. My time has come. It is time for me to leave. I do not want tears or sadness, but a love that is everlasting." That's called a Kaio Ahin spring poem, the slender mother explained, with kindness emanating through her hazel eyes and a grin cast across her face. It is a famous poem that speaks of spirituality and love. Kaio Achin is the name of the genre of poetry that conveys our energetic nature. Kaioahin is also a movement to reconnect in the energetic world and to return to the revival of our energetic realities. I guess it would be easier for you to think of it as a spiritual movement. I don't understand. I have seen the future before. I saw the energetic probabilities of it. I saw developed nations such as America transformed into rigidly controlled countries with police patrols everywhere and freedom taken away from people. I saw a draconian ruling class, one that entirely suppresses the freedom of the mind. I saw many disasters. Did any of this occur? Is this an alternate future? What year is this? As I stared at the poem in confusion, I heard the father respond from the table. There is no year. We don't count by years anymore. We live our lives day to day on the basis of spirituality. We try to put away the spiritual aspects of time. What you saw wasn't altered. It happened in our past, but we are now far into the future from that period. I began to look around myself in search of any futuristic gadgets, eager to make more sense of the man's words, but my efforts were soon interrupted by the mother. We don't entertain ourselves with the entertainment that people in your period once did. We focus entirely and wholeheartedly on spirituality now. We have gone back to our origin. The entertainment of the past served only as a distraction from the spiritual path and the true knowledge of our temporary physical existence. Currently, we focus on spirituality. What you once knew as consumerism has ceased to exist. We grow our own foods and exchange our own goods with one another through kind gestures of giving and receiving. We do not have what you once termed as shopping. Such was only yet another obstacle for blinding humanity to its purpose and true nature. We now focus on spiritual attainment. She briefly excused herself from the table before returning with a framed picture that she handed to the father. Ooh, I don't know, sounds very pious and rather dull to me. A bit like sort of hippie communes and craftspeople, you know. I thought we'd been through that one already. Anyway, it's not my experience of the future, but it's Kartika's, so let's go. He placed gently the framed picture on the smooth table in front of us and explained, "Look, this is the map of our Earth today. As you can tell, many countries have physically shifted their positions since your time. See?" The father intently placed his forefinger on the map and looked at me to make sure I was following along. Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, and 2 other countries formed a single alliance and formed into one. That is where you are now, right here. We are called Iona now. Wasn't that interesting? Iona is an island off Scotland. I wonder how it shifted all the way to the east. The land that you are standing on was previously known as West Sulawesi. He hovered his finger in a circle above a particular region of the map. I looked at it blankly without even the slightest sense of recognition. It looked nothing like the Earth we know now. Each continent looked as though it had either been altered in shape or moved entirely. Is it just you who live in this vast area of space, or do the people of your current period prefer to live in solitude like this? I asked with my usual curiosity as my eyes roamed the map still in front of me. There are a few reasons, but the primary reason is that people of our time recognize that we do not need such large spaces to live in. We focus on living humbly, if your question lies in connection to the size of our house. Currently, Earth is much less populated than it was during your time. In fact, we learned that Earth was most densely populated during the clouded period that you lived in. Clouded period? I asked, as I looked up with my brow crinkled in confusion. That's what we call your time. After the clouded period comes the period of darkness. It is known as clouded because during this time most people's minds were clouded, blinding them from seeing the truth of the importance of spirituality, and instead inviting them to dedicate their efforts, time, and mind to the attainment of material wealth. The father's light green eyes overflowed with a dim greyness as I took in his words. I know, I feel the same way. I'm presently thinking of writing a book to help rekindle the truth of the energetic worlds and the true energetic nature of humans. Maybe, perhaps, the clouded period will only pertain to the majority of people living during my period, but not all. Because I know strongly within me that a handful, though not many, will begin to contribute in the reigniting of the energetic realities and help maintain energetic harmony during my time. I said with a smile full of hope, which the father kindly reciprocated. I suppose I'm one of those people. Um, but I see myself contributing, but not in any way superior. And I think that's a dangerous game to play when you're a light worker or a spiritual aspirant. Humility is much better. It's always easy to overestimate one's level of accomplishment. Because however far you've gone, there's always farther to go. You'd be happy to know that even the schools in which everyone is entitled and encouraged to follow their passions teach about energetic realities and the energetic worlds. Also, did you know, the girl beamed excitedly as she plaited her hair into a neat braid, that we can now pick our birth time, and that the last name we receive depends on it. I was born in the afternoon, so my last name is Gunna. Well, from the archives, which are now quite bulging, of past life and between life regression, many people recall picking their birthplace, their birth family, their birth mother. So I'm not sure how much of an advance this is, but we'll see. I was blown away at these words and replied in astonishment, "This is amazing. It is just so hard to believe, coming from my time, that a population could reside within their physical bodies, live on physical earth, yet maintain happiness and peace. Does crime not really exist?" I apologized for my apparent negativity before they could answer my question, explaining that our period was so drastically different from theirs in every possible way. Crime cannot exist solely due to human nature, without external inputs or influences. Even if a crime does occur, the criminal himself knows immediately that there is no place for such evil doing in our society. Everyone here vibrates in a high frequency. Therefore, if one person vibrates in a low frequency, he must either leave to maintain his own frequency, or he must elevate it so that he can vibrate in the frequency of others, the girl explained. I thank the kind family for evoking a hope for humanity within me and showing me a future that gave me happiness in the present. I asked politely if I could take another look at the Kohen poem, at which the mother bounced up from her seat and made her way over to the wall with the poem. As she handed over the simple wooden frame that rested in both her hands, I explained in gratitude that I would try to memorize it so I could remember it upon returning to my physical body. The family chuckled good-naturedly to the mother, and she responded softly, "You cannot possibly remember all 20 lines, just focus on 5 or 6. I then asked if I could know the name of the author, to which she replied, "We do not know." This is the entire essence of the Kohen poem. Its nature is that of spirituality, and its writing is for the purpose of reviving spirituality. The writers of Kohen do not provide their names to gain recognition or fame. Oh my. It is believed that by writing a Kohen poem, you are elevating your energetic frequency through assisting in an elevation of the frequencies of others. The more you give, the more you receive. Maybe I'll try to remember as much as the universe will allow me to. I'll write it in the book and then can finish it. Anyone can finish it for me. I recited the poem about 10 times to myself. As my eyes skimmed up and down the framed poem, I felt my chest immerse in a joyous light sensation of tranquility, a feeling of unity, oneness with the universe. Suddenly the discordant ringing of my cell phone cut through my mind, and I hurriedly thanked the family for their hospitality and felt myself being rapidly pulled into space. I drifted farther and farther away until I was at a distance where I could clearly make out the outline of the country I had just visited, as though I were looking at my very own map. I was shocked to notice a group of iceberg-like formations floating around the region. But who am I to question the energetic probabilities of the future? Am I not but a caveman of the past? And another one, the land of Ku. After a year of consistent travelling, I had yet to come across an energetic being whose outlook could enlighten my mind farther. I had indeed learned of the fundamental aspects of energetic travel. Every night, as others slept and refueled for the day's work ahead of them, I found myself lending my trust to the universe, hoping with all my heart that it would lead me to experiences that would further my knowledge of the energetic worlds. On one of these nights, after successfully detaching from my physical, I found myself soaring through my apartment building at an unfathomable speed. My upstairs neighbor's spoiled chihuahua, Spotty, yipping and yapping at me from his special orthopedic cushion as he watched me disappear in the distance over him into the vast universe. I felt my chest constrict in mild panic as I watched Spotty become a faint dot, followed by my tall, skinny apartment building, and then the planet we call home. I closed my eyes, shifting my energetic focus to the universe, and suddenly felt the direction of my energetic body shift into a horizontal course. When I opened my eyes, I was in a dimly lit bedroom. In spite of the poor illumination, I saw that it was meticulously neat and organized, a far cry from my disorderly room on Earth. Overflowing with my usual curiosity, I began to find my way around when I heard the deep, disembodied voice of a man. "Hello, who are you?" I introduced myself in the most straightforward manner I could manage. "My name is Kartika from Earth, energetic traveler, year 2011. As I turned round to face the voice I had heard, the room instantly lit up as though on the man's command. I was incredibly surprised to see that the man standing in front of me was Asian. I had never encountered an Asian in any of my previous multidimensional travels. I could now see the room in which we stood more clearly. There was a white wooden bed positioned in the center with a nightstand to its side and a closet in the corner. I assumed it was the man's room. "You exist in the physical, don't you? Do you exist in the Milky Way galaxy too, like Earth? Is your planet the same size as planet Earth?" I inquired curiously. The man gazed intently at the dimmed lamp resting on the nightstand next to the bed, and as he began to speak, I saw it flicker brightly and illuminate the walls around us. "Yes, we do. But this is not the Milky Way galaxy, and we are much smaller than Earth. I've always known that a visitor from Earth was to visit us soon." "You are most welcome. I have a lot to show you." He quickly grabbed a cream-colored trench coat from his closet, threw it over his shoulder, and led me outside the room as the lights dimmed behind us. A few steps and we were standing side by side in front of the door that we had just exited. I could not believe I was on a different planet. Our surroundings were strikingly similar to the suburbs of Japan, which I had seen numerous times on the bullet train. In the distance, a green expanse that stretched across the horizon ahead of us, I could see numerous towering temples adorned with the intricate, sloping rooftops typical of traditional Japanese architecture. Thrown off by these observations, I gazed curiously at the man. He was around 5 feet tall, with a robust build and short dark hair. There was nothing unique or particularly alien about him. He had the demeanor of a Japanese professor. "I really do not understand how this can be a different planet. It looks exactly like the country of Japan on planet Earth," I told him, a bit of frustration apparent in my tone. He looked at me sympathetically, as though he longed deeply for me to understand, before affirming with a light sigh, "Kartika, we are not on Earth. This is not Earth. We are a physical planet and of a different galaxy than Earth. Yes, I am familiar with Earth. I had a life on Earth. But what differentiates our planet from Earth is that rather than focusing on the physical, here we focus on the energetic. We are aware of the truth. Have you noticed that everything around us is deserted? That you have not seen any people at all?" "Well, no," I admitted, "but they could be sleeping or just inside their homes." He seemed amused by my answer, and he chuckled deeply and scratched his head. "Yeah, That is a very human answer, Kartika. There are certain periods of our cycle, or what you humans would call a week. Our cycle, or what you humans would call a week, that we devote to aligning our minds and resonating in high vibrations to travel around the universe and communicate with the higher beings. Everyone participates. Though I was slightly offended by this man's initial comment, I knew that his intentions were good. I asked him why I couldn't see the other residents of the planet, considering that we were all in the energetic. He remained silent for a bit as I followed him through a park of scattered bamboo trees amid puddles of fluffy golden forest grass. We are communally aiming for the sixth dimension, he said, and that is where they are currently. Energetic, you are in the fifth dimension right now. I was both confused and surprised by the implications of what he said. So you've managed to rise as a planet energetically, and as a result, all of your energetics exist in the fifth dimensional experience, as opposed to the fourth, which humans go to when they sleep? When you sleep, do you exist in the fifth? I asked, while marveling at the vibrancy of the bamboo trees. He nodded, bringing his hands together in front of him in agreement. Yes, it is possible. We once thought that it wasn't possible, but our achievements proved that such wasn't the case. It is through numbers, through unity, that we were able to achieve it, Carr. At first, only a mere few of us managed to do this, to come to exist in the fifth dimension. But as we gradually increased in number and our population joined in, our entire population, we began to energetically exist in the fifth dimension. 100th monkey effect, yes? We exited the beautiful park and stepped out onto a clean, narrow sidewalk, strolling down its path together until I felt the man gently place his hand on my shoulder. When we finally reached our destination, a long, single-level, white rectangular building composed entirely of concrete, it reminded me of a gigantic Lego piece. I passed through the glass door in front of the building without any difficulty, finding myself in a spacious, brightly illuminated lobby. It was completely devoid of furniture and people, as though it had been intentionally abandoned long ago. Welcome to our planet, Kartika. The man's orotund voice rang into the building's emptiness, and with these words, I saw the floor of the building transform, Escher-like, into at least 30 unfathomable levels of descending escalators that intersected with one another. With an inviting grin, he guided me toward one of them, and we were soon moving deeper and deeper into the entangled maze. I really don't understand. It doesn't look like any apocalypse has affected your planet outside. Why do you live underground? Is it for safety? I asked as we descended the escalator. It is for safety. Our outer planet is just for show. We travel undisturbed in the underground. Traveling. Humans still call it sleeping, don't they? He peered down at the seemingly never-ending escalators below us, and as I followed his gaze, but his answer had not satisfied my overwhelming curiosity. I don't understand how you have buildings that look so similar to those on planet Earth, and how this can be the physical. I can't make sense of your planet at all. He lifted his head up and let out a soft chuckle. Carr, you do not actually believe that the higher beings that traveled to your planet, particularly the ones that influenced the building of what humans know as temples, only came to Earth, do you? I expected more of you, Carr. But never mind about it all. Come, let us see exciting things. You don't have to move so rigidly. Glide instead. Glide. You're in the energetic. Glide. I watched my new acquaintance move effortlessly onto a neighboring escalator, joining into the rhythm of the moving steps. I attempted to follow his graceful movements and was quickly astounded by my success. At least I'm not as clumsy in the energetic as I am in the physical, I smiled to myself. Stop! The man yelled suddenly, jolting me away from marveling at my new achievement, as he leaped onto the platform of a passing floor. I quickly jumped behind him, jumping as high as I could so that I wouldn't get left behind on the escalator. We had reached a space that reminded me of a laboratory, and we were surrounded by long wooden tables on which aquarium tanks were scattered. These were filled with metallic objects immersed in translucent water. Exciting, isn't it? The man exclaimed as he approached one of the aquariums and rested his elbows on the table. and then gazed intently at what it heard. "Do you know what you're looking at?" he asked, sensing my presence next to him. I shook my head and he pointed to a metallic cluster about the size of a coin that looked like a magnet. "These are the elements of the universe. The people of your world have only discovered a small fraction of what you see in this entire room. We have found that these elements, when reacting with another force, can either enhance or disrupt through patterns in relation to energetic traveling. We place them in water to determine which effect each element has. That outer world that you see, it's just a show. We are fortunate enough to have found solace within the interior aspects of our world, and even in our components and our very own being. It is in the interior that we have focused on and continue to thrive in. Though there are many other outer characteristics of our planet that are similar to your planet, we choose to look within instead." As his words found purchase in my mind, I felt a knot form in my heart. "I do not like my planet. Is there any possible way that you could find me a physical here? Is there any way that you could just keep me here? I'd love to be a resident of this planet." I quavered, my speech breaking on the verge of tears. He turned away from the aquarium and looked up at me with regret in his eyes, explaining apologetically, "It is not permitted. Though after your journey ends on Earth, you could always opt to come and live here permanently. Please listen to me. We fight and continue to triumph over darkness. Water blocks the negative, lower vibrational frequencies that target our planet. Humans must know to focus internally. It is the fate of your planet, and it is the same as ours. They must learn that the exterior makes them vulnerable to low frequencies. The one message that I'd like for you to always remember is that harmony must be maintained amongst those of like energetic frequencies. It is through harmony that it will be spread. Focus on those who focus on the internal." While listening to him speak, I once again began to worry that I would be pulled back to my physical body at such an important moment. I also knew that such worry would very soon lower my overall vibrational frequency to such an extent that it would be a self-fulfilling prophecy. "Visit me. I'm getting pulled back now. Visit me. Assist us," I called out to the man as I watched the aquariums dwindle away and woke up in my physical body. Well, thank you for that, Kartika. And such mysterious and mystical journeys to the future bring us to the end of this series of readings from The Multidimensional Traveler by Kartika Go, touching off many comparisons to the other books that we've been sampling in the last few months, particularly Robert Monroe and I think Jürgen's You. For a newbie, Kartika's doing rather well, I'd say. There's other sections of the book where she talks about being fooled by negative beings and deceptive beings. I think I maybe touched on that a little bit, but there's quite a bit more. And perhaps you'll be tempted to get the book for yourself. Here it is. And in the next few days, we'll move on to something else, such as the vast ocean of words that resides in this house. Inspiring words, I might add, not just words, good stuff, inspiring stuff. Anyway, until we meet again, I wish you all farewell, au revoir, and bon voyage.